This is Lady Tiffany Ma. I want you welcome to my live. I kind of want to talk a little bit about Kanye West's shenanigans, and it's coming from an empathetic point of view. So I hope you guys are having a lovely Wednesday. I am because I didn't have no second class today, even though the class I have to wait for that starts at 5 is one of my favorite classes. It's a criminology class. But I hope you guys are having a lovely day. I had to get myself out of a stupor because I want to talk a little bit about Kanye West and Kanye West's shenanigans. And this morning I was just poked and I was disturbed because I'm an empath. I don't like seeing anybody get hurt, even when I can't stand that person. I don't like seeing people get hurt. I don't like see people get discriminated against. But I still think this needs to be understanding. So recently, Kanye West has went on a rampage and he's attacked everybody. He attacked black people, he attacked Jewish people, and of course, he has to attack the Kardashians. Um, the one thing that hurt him, and I'm gonna say this because I find it very I see the hypocrisy in it. People didn't really get pissed until he said something against the Jewish people. Till he started his anti-Semitic rhetoric. I want to talk about it, but I want to tell you that, of course, my spirit guides are going to make me an empath and push me to see something. So I want to discuss a movie I watched. I just finished. It took me 2 weeks to finish it because it was 2 hours and 37 minutes, and it is on YouTube. You can watch it for free on YouTube, or you can buy the Blu-ray, DVD, whatever you need to go buy it. However you need to go buy it, you can watch it. And it's not graphic, but I mean, if you were somebody that was in middle school and high school, and people forced you to watch graphic, description of what happened to the Jewish people, you already imagine what had happened to these people. So I want to talk about something that historically happened by introducing you to a movie that I was watching on YouTube. Okay. So for some reason, I let spirit guides guide me to watch certain things sometimes. Okay. I'm trying to get into Halloween spirit, but it seemed like life has been very like nightmarish when it comes to life. I had started watching old Halloween movies because I love old horror movies. So, but I told y'all I was watching this. I was the down what backstairs of the White House where it was talking about the servants inside the White House. And I watched that. Well, something drew me to this movie. Okay. At first, I'm gonna be honest with you. I did not know anything about the St. Louis. Okay. Nobody told me this as much as they talked about the Holocaust. And the funny part is, the reason this happened to these people was because the U.S. would not let these people off the boat. So I see why y'all didn't want to talk about it when it came to talking about the Holocaust and how we could have prevented it. So, of course, the movie Voyage of the Dam, it's about a situation dealing with people trying to escape Nazi Germany, okay? So I'm going to talk to you historically about what the movie is about. And and I want to tell you about the two characters that stuck out to me that bothered me the most. And then we're going to go into, that's why people are very iffy about talking crap about the Jews, then I'm going to give my black ass perspective on this, where I'm going to explain to you why Kanye West said what he said, and I do have evidence of what Kanye West has said, because he eventually has came out and said sorry, but he said, he said sorry to people that he hurt, but he has his point, but I'm not saying it's okay. Okay, so the SS St. Louis was a diesel-powered passenger ship, properly referred to with the prefix MS or MV, built by the Bremer Vulcan Shipyard in Bremen for HAPAG, better known in English as the Hamburg American Line. The ship was named after the city of St. Louis, Missouri. Her sister ship, MS Milwaukee, was also a diesel-powered motor vessel owned by the Hamburg American Line. The St. Louis regularly sailed the transatlantic route from Hamburg to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and New York, and made cruises to the Canary Islands, Madeira, Spain, and Morocco. St. Louis was built for both transatlantic liner service and for leisure cruises. Okay? So, that's to give you a little backstory. Now, somebody talk about the background and all this stuff. We ain't gonna get into all the details and how it was built, when it was built. Just know the ship was not built for this, but the ship was used for this. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna get to the part where it says the voyage of the Dam. It says, under the command of Captain Gustav Schroeder, St. Louis set sail from Hamburg to Havana, Cuba on May 13th, 1939, carrying 937 passengers, most of them Jewish refugees seeking asylum from Nazi persecution in Germany. Captain Schroeder was a German who went to a great lengths to ensure dignified treatment for his passengers. Food served included items subject to rationing in Germany, and childcare was available while parents dying. Dance and concert were put on, and on Friday evenings, religious services were held in a dining room. A bust of Hitler was covered by a tablecloth. Swimming lessons took place in the pool. Lothar Malton, a boy traveling with his parents, said the passengers thought of it as a vacation cruise to freedom. Bound for Cuba, the ship dropped anchor at 4 o'clock on May 27th at the fair end of the Havana harbor, but was denied entry to the usual docking area. The Cuban government, headed by President Federico Laredo Bru, refused to accept the foreign refugees, although they held legal tourist visas to Cuba, as law related to these had been recently changed. On May 5th, 1939, 4 months before World War II began, Havana abandoned its pragmatic immigration policy by virtue of Decree 937, which restricted entry of all foreigners except U.S. citizens. Oh, really? Okay. Unless authorized by Cuban Secretary of State and subject to a bond of U.S. $500. None of the passengers knew that their landing permits had been invalidated a few weeks earlier. Okay, so the first part of the movie shows basically they set these people up to just turn them around to die. Okay. 22 were Jews who had valid United States visas, 4 were Spanish citizens, and 2 were Cuban nationals, all with valid entry documents. The last admitted was a medical evacuee and a desperate passenger who attempted a suicide and was allowed hospitalization in Havana. Okay, so there was this lady and her husband. They had a teenage daughter, and in the movie, basically, he because they would not let them off the ship, he attempted to jump off the boat into the water. He had already cut himself, I think, because he was bleeding, and then he jumped off the ship, and they saved his life and took him to the hospital in Havana. Records show American officials, Secretary of State Cordell Hull and Secretary of Treasury Henry Margenthal had made efforts to persuade Cuba to accept the refugees, quite like the failed attempts by the American Jewish Joint Distribution Committee, which pleaded with the government. After most passengers refused landing in Cuba, Captain Schroeder directed St. Louis and the remaining 907 refugees toward the United States. He circled off the coast of Florida, hoping for permission from authorities to enter the United States. Neither Hull nor the U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt chose to intervene to admit the refugees. Captain Schroeder considered running St. Louis aground along the coast to allow the refugees to escape, but acting on Holt's instruction, United States Coast Guard vessels shadowed the ship and prevented this. After St. Louis was turned away from the United States, a group of academics and clergy in Canada tried to persuade Prime Minister William Lyon Mackenzie King to provide sanctuary to the passengers. The ship could have reached Halifax, Nova Scotia in 2 days. The director of the Canadian Immigration Branch, Frederick Blair, was hostile to Jewish immigration and persuaded the head of government on June 9th not to intervene. In 2000, Blair's nephew apologized to the Jewish people for his uncle's action. As a captain, Schroeder negotiated and schemed to find passengers a haven. Conditions on the ship declined. At one point, he made plans to wreck the ship on the British coast to force the government to take the passengers as refugees. He refused to return the ship to Germany until all passengers had been given entry to some other countries. U.S. officials worked with Britain and Europe nations to find refuge for the Jews in Europe. The ship returned to Europe, docking at the port of Antwerp, Belgium, on June 17, 1939, with the 908 passengers. We need to figure out if it was 907 or 908 passengers. See, this is why I don't fuck with you, Wikipedia. The British Prime Minister, Neville Chamberlain, agreed to take 288.32% of the passengers who disembarked and traveled to the... I thought the Prime Minister was it Neville Chamberlain at that time? Okay, I'm going to do some more research on this, but okay. Who disembarked and traveled to the UK via other streamers. After much negotiation by Schroeder, the remaining 619 passengers were allowed to disembark on Antwerp. 224, 25% were accepted by France, 214, 23.59% by Belgium, and 181, 20% by the Netherlands. The ship returned to Hamburg without any passengers. The following year, after the Battle of France and Nazi occupation of Belgium and France and the Netherlands, in May 1940, all the Jews in those countries were subject to high risk, including recent refugees. Based on the survival rate for Jews in various countries during the war and deportation, historians have estimated the 180 of the St. Louis refugees in France, 152 of those in Belgium, and 60 of those in the Netherlands survived the Holocaust. Including the passengers who landed in England. Of the original 936 refugees, one man died during the voyage, roughly 709 survived the war, and 227 died. Later research tracing each passenger has determined that 254, 29.2% of those who returned to the continental Europe, were murdered during the Holocaust. After the war, Federal Republic of Germany awarded Captain Gustav Schroeder the Order of Merit. In 1993, Schroeder was posthumously named as one of the righteous among the nation as a Yad Vashem Holocaust Memorial in Israel. A display at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C. tells the story of the voyage of the MS St. Louis. The Hamburg Museum features a display and video about St. Louis ship and its exhibits about the history of shipping in the city. In 2009, a special exhibit at the Maritime Museum of the Atlantic in Halifax, Nova Scotia, entitled Ship of Fate, explored the Canadian connection to the tragic voyage. The display is now a traveling exhibit in Canada. It says in 2012, the United States Department of State formally apologized in a ceremony attended by Deputy Secretary Bill Burns and 14 survivors of the incident. The survivors presented a proclamation of gratitude to various European countries for accepting some of the ship's passengers. A signed copy of Senate Resolution 111, recognized June 6, 2009, as the 70th anniversary of the incident, was delivered to the Department of State Archives. In May 2017, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced the government of Canada would offer a formal apology in the country's House of Commons for its role in the fate of the ship's passengers. The apology was issued on November 7th, 2018. Okay. I don't know how long I spent on this. Apparently 15 minutes. That felt longer than 15 minutes because I had to read all that. Okay, so just to give you guys an idea of what had happened, okay? So I want to talk to you guys how this movie like bothered me. The thing that bothered me was these two guys that freshly came out of a concentration camp. Okay? And the crazy part about it was, it's like in the back of my mind, I knew these guys were doomed. I never seen this movie. I never heard about this historical event. Because, like I said, history class doesn't really teach you history. It just tell you a little bit about what's going on, but it don't tell you about isolated incidents that happen to anybody um, at all. Okay? So I want to talk about this. There was these two characters that came out the concentration camps freshly, that were able to get on the boat. They were being chased down. They were almost killed just because they were trying to get on this boat. Okay? All right. So these two guys freshly got the concentration camp and barely make it to the ship to escape Germany. Okay, and it was crazy because when I saw these guys, I already knew for a fact that something bad was going to happen to them. All right, like I said, nobody historically talk about what happened to the passengers um, of the St. Louis. Nobody talk about that. That's not something that is discussed. Okay, so me personally, I'm watching this movie. I was like, I know nothing good is going to happen to these guys, even though they were leaving. They're supposed to dock in Germany, but like I said, in the beginning of the movie, they basically tell you that somebody was paid to make sure they were not able to dock or get off the ship in Cuba. So somebody got paid for this. All right. So what bothers me is like they finally get to Cuba and they wait there for a few days, like I told you in the story. And what happened is, they have to go back. So they have to turn around. So the captain has to turn them around. And these two guys are on the ship. What happened was there were Nazi officers on the ship, people who just didn't like Jewish people. So the first thing they did was they went and beat up these guys who just got out of the concentration camps. Then they go and kill this Jewish girl and her lover. Okay. What happened was these guys, they don't want to go back to what happened to them. They don't want to go back to the concentration camps. They was trying to hold the ship hostage. And one guy was like, hey, he's trying to get us to where we need to go. We need him in order to be able to get out of our situations. Go ahead and go. So in the end of the movie, they tell you what happened to each individuals. Um, and of course, these two guys died in Auschwitz. That bothered the hell out of me. I was surprised I got any sleep last night, but that bothered the hell out of me. Okay. Now I'm gonna make my point when I say that was horrible. That never should have happened. Those people should have been able to go to Cuba, and they should have been able to go to America, but nobody would let them dock the ship. So yeah, and there's a whole lot of political BS, but sometimes that political BS caused a lot of people to die, unfortunately. So I want to talk to you guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. I am a black person, just to let you guys know. I'm not saying that for convenience. I'm just letting you know I'm black. Okay? I'm a black person. So I need y'all to understand where I'm coming from, and I'm going to explain where Kanye West is coming from. So please do not get offended. Please do not get upset, okay? It is not okay what happened to the Jewish people. It's not okay at all, okay? It's not okay to be anti Semitic. It's not okay at all. But there shouldn't be no but after that, really. As a black person, we have our own story of oppression and inequality. And, of course, the Holocaust and what happened to the Jews, of course, people want to say, oh, well, that happened this decade. But, what happened to black people were 200 years ago. Y'all not talking about the Tuskegee experiment. They experimented on those guys. And then recently, I want to show you where they are still experimenting on prisoners. And y'all know majority of the prison systems are filled with black men. Okay. And I'm not trying to have a off of who is the most oppressed at all. We're not having that, okay? Even in feudal Europe, they had areas just for the Jewish people, okay? But every time somebody says something racist about a black person, they don't get the punishment. Okay? They have to literally say the N word in order for you to cancel them. But when it comes to black people, we do not measure up to the impact that Jewish people get for the Holocaust. We don't. Still to this day, as you saw, it says in 2018, even they're still apologizing for what happened to the people on this ship. Okay? They apologizing. People apologize, they make museums, they talk about it, and talk about how horrible what happened it is. And if anybody should understand how horrible the Holocaust is, it would be black people. But we can never beat that argument because it's always about what has happened in the last century. As if, like I said, the Tuskegee experiment didn't happen, the assassination of Dr. King didn't happen. Um, we want to act like all these things happened. There weren't a bunch of lynchings going on. Y'all acting like all these things did not happen. Y'all acting like just because y'all ended slavery, that there's still no discrimination against black people. Okay. So let me say what Kanye West is saying without offending the Jewish people. Does that make sense? He was very much out of line. I don't know what was he thinking when he said DEF CON. Was it 4 or 3? Either word, either way, it was the worst DEF CON of all of them. I don't know what he was thinking. Okay. I'm one of those people. I understand he wasn't trying to say names, but I get what he was saying. He was talking about the entertainment industry. Okay. So let's get rid of this picture of the Voyage of the Dam, which I have to say the picture right here. I don't know why, but I just for some reason thought it was going to be Titanic-y. It I don't know what's worse. I don't know. Both situations are awful because a bunch of people passed away. But yeah, not all the people passed away, but you know, it's still pretty bad. So and I'm gonna be straight up honest with you, it's not just people who may be of the Jewish heritage. Black people been fucking artists over too. I mean, you know, there was a whole situation with Diddy. Y'all remember when they were talking about Diddy and how he did his artists? There was a whole situation about that. Okay. Okay. All right. Oh, and also he said something that was offensive, and now George Floyd, baby mama, trying to get money out of it, and I don't respect her for that. Let me explain to you why. I don't respect that because you're using this as a ploy to make money. I don't like it. I don't care. But I'm also talk about that too. The whole George Floyd thing. We have to talk about that. Okay. 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 Let's see. So this is an interview with him and what he's saying. Um he has apologized. Um but I don't think he can fix that. Cause once you like, I don't know, I don't think he can fix that. Granted, y'all always pissed off about something anyway. So I mean, he might be able to get through it. I don't know. He might. It all depends on him or whatever have you. Um, but long story short, for me, It's hard once you pissed off Jewish people. It's hard to get back in the loop. Okay, so I saved it. I'm trying to find what he said, what they said, what he said, his reasoning for what he said. Okay. Um, she ain't getting that $250,000. I don't care what she say. She's not gonna get it. Um, I can't find it. I saw it and couldn't find it. So we just gonna talk about his interview with Pierre Morgan, as if Pierre Morgan could talk with his racist ass. I don't like Pierre Morgan. I did a whole podcast of me talking about Pierre Morgan, and I basically said I cannot stand that man. He's a racist. You know, he's mad because Meghan Markle didn't marry him, and she got with Prince Harry, and so he is just a racist ass person to me. Okay, so just in case you guys don't know and get where Kanye West is coming from, in the entertainment industry, the people who run the entertainment industry, the managers, the executive producers, some even songwriters, people who are the CEOs, um, lawyers. In the back of the day, majority of them were Jewish. Okay? All right? These days, it's different. Okay? So, there is a lot of bad feelings with artists and the people because of what I told y'all recently about how the entertainment industry work. Okay, I told y'all about the upfront money thing. Okay, but really, all these artists died broke and homeless and all these things because they wasn't managing themselves. Okay, so Kanye West feels some kind of way because he feels like somebody screwed him over. Okay? Of course, he's not going to specify who did it, but when you attack a whole group of people because of the few that screwed you up that just so happen to be majority Jewish, people misunderstand what you're trying to say. Okay? Even these PC ass black folks, which y'all are the worst. I'm gonna say this: if you're black and you are politically correct, you're the worst. Okay? You can't win in a politically correct society as a black person. That's just not it. Because right is not always politically correct. Okay, does that make sense? So, Kanye basically said that he didn't appreciate how the entertainment industry treated him because in the majority of the entertainment industry that he was in, which is the music industry, can't be the fashion industry. Which I'm not saying that the fashion industry don't have anybody Jewish in it, but we all know it's the music industry, the entertainment industry. Majority are Jewish. Okay? So he feel like somebody has screwed him over, has screwed him up with his creativity. Okay? All right. So he said that I don't understand why people can't specifically call out the names of people who screwed them over because you're going to have the balls to talk about the people who screwed you over. At least say the names. Now, y'all remember not too long ago, Nick Cannon, he did the same thing. He kind of came out and he was talking about how, he was talking about how they kind of run the entertainment industry. Okay? So these are people who feel some kind of way as black artists being screwed over by the entertainment industry. Like I said, you're not going to win against the Jewish machine. You're just not. Because they're first and foremost, they're together. Jewish people work together. That's one thing black people don't do. We don't work together. That's why we always get screwed up as well. Because it's not just people like that. Even black artists screwed up black artists, okay? Like Glorilla, which I'm going to talk about Glorilla, which I'm trying to figure out, girl, why you name yourself Glorilla? But Glorilla recently came out and she told people about it was a black guy that screwed her over. So it's not just people who are Jewish. It's just a music industry thing. But Kanye West feels that way. Okay. Now there was a better way to word this, but of course he didn't do it. So I want to talk about a few things that he said, and then I want to talk about I should talk about what he said too. I want to girl, all this information is coming out against was it against Courtney Clements? Her name is Courtney Clenny, right? Clenny, honey. People saying he abused her. People saying she abused him. There was a toxic ass relationship, as far as I'm concerned. Okay. So the other thing that came out with Kanye West was that he said that George Floyd did not get his windpipe crushed. And it results in this. She's not gonna get that. I don't give a damn what this woman say. You're not gonna get that. You weren't even this man's wife. And don't say you're gonna put in a trust fund for your daughter because you're gonna use all that money up, girl. She ain't gonna get $250 million out of Kanye West. She's not. But as far as majority of Americans are concerned, we all saw George Floyd get suffocated to death. Am I not right? Okay. So let's talk about the evidence that Candace Owen, because Candace Owen is agreeing with Kanye. And she shows this picture. How do you make this bigger? She said that he died from a fentanyl overdose, that he did not get suffocated, which my thing is, Derek Chauvin is in jail for suffocating George Floyd. Okay, and there was enough evidence to prosecute Derek Chauvin. So why show this information right now? Which I'm trying to figure the hell out. Why the hell this has visited information center for vaccine resources when this has nothing to do with vaccines? Okay, I don't think you can see that. Can you see that? To give you a gist of what it says life-threatening injury. No life-threatening injury is identified. So I don't know what she talking about or he talking about. And somebody said that somebody was in the comment section. They explained that he didn't have enough fentanyl in him to be considered an overdose. So, but he still ain't gonna get that woman. I'm gonna tell y'all this. She's not gonna get that as much money as she wants. She over here asking for $250 million from Kanye West, and she's gonna get a go sit down real fast. I find it to be greedy that she doing that, and it shows a lot about her character to me. But as far as I'm concerned, it has been proven that Derek Chauvin did suffocate George Floyd. So I don't know where they got this information from. It does not specify who the victim is. It just says no life-threatening injuries identified. So there's not even information on there's not a paper that says anything about him. Toxicology, see attachment reports for full details. Testing performed on antemortem blood specimen collected 5/25/20 at 9 p.m. at HHC. Blood, drugs, and novels psychoactive substance screen. Coffee when he had caffeine. Continine, hydroxy delta, THC, delta 9 carboxy THC, basically methamphetamine. I just know that Derek Chauvin is in prison. Okay. So let's hear what he has to say to racist ass Pierre Morgan. Pierre Morgan is racist and not more racist than Kanye. So he's the last one to sit here and be condemning any damn body with his disgusting ass.
Do you now regret saying DEFCON 3 on Jewish people? Are you sorry you said that?
No.
None of it matters. You should be.
Absolutely not.
You should be.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but yeah, you should be.
Absolutely not.
When you insult the Jewish people and say you're going DEFCON 3 on the Jewish people, that is as racist as anything you say you've been through and any pain that you've experienced. It's the same thing. Racism is racism.
Hey, didn't I say in my podcast the racist shit that he said on his freaking live? Pierre, go have a very hot seat. You are the biggest hypocrite of everything.
And you know that, I think, don't you?
Yeah, obviously. That's why I said it.
So you said it knowing it's racist?
Yes. I fought fire with fire.
Okay.
I'm not here to get hosed down.
At least that's honest.
A different type of freedom fighter. You know, I will say I'm sorry for the people that I hurt with the DEFCON, the confusion that I call. I feel like I cause hurt and confusion. And I'm sorry for the families of the people that had nothing to do with the trauma that I had been through and that I use my platform where you say hurt people, and I was hurt.
For you is, do you now regret saying
I update
DEFCON
every
3
day.
on Jewish people? Are you sorry?
Like I said, wrong person to interview him about this. So, like, fuck Pierre Morgan. But I see what he shouldn't have said what he said on a whole group of people. He should have specified who he's particularly talking about instead of saying Jewish people. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm gonna end it right here. I'm gonna do another live tomorrow. I just wanted to focus on that, and I just want to explain what he said and how he could have worded better instead of specifically isolating a group of people. Isolate the group of people who piss you off, not people that you don't know that piss you off. Yeah. And Pierre Morgan, go fuck yourself. Nothing you say matter to me. You can sit up here and condemn somebody for racism as a way of getting getting people to like you, but I would never forgive you for how you treat Meghan Markle because you mad she don't want you no more. So it is what it is, bruh. Different strokes for different folks, but I don't think Pierre Morgan should have been doing that because he said some offensive things to not only black people, but he's also said some offensive things toward Asian people. So with that being said, I just wanted to talk about that real quick. Kanye know what he said, and he's like, well, I was mad and I was upset. He said, well, you know what they say, hurt people. You just need to be careful how you say things and how you word things. But I know on my podcast we don't give a damn. But I've never said anything against Jewish people. I acknowledge the fact that there's people who are Holocaust deniers, but I've never denied the Holocaust. So I never said anything against anybody Jewish. I don't personally know anybody that's Jewish in my life. And if you're Jewish and you know me, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were Jewish. But I'm just saying, you just got to be careful how you do things. And like I said, the hypocrisy is, he's a black man and he said something against Jewish people. But, he don't get that much flack for what he said about black people, And he didn't. He didn't get much flack for what he said about black people. He over here wearing a fucking White Lives Matter shirt with Candace Owen. And once again, I understood where he was coming from with that, but still, it's like, bad timing. You understand people these days are bajillion. They don't understand when you're screwing them in the head. They don't get it. So you have to be careful with what you say. I'm pretty sure people would know and would understand where he's coming from if he did not go so hard on a group of people. So it is what it is. With that being said, thank you guys for coming to my live. I hope you guys are having a lovely day. Next time I'll come back on here, I want to talk about the Courtney Clinton thing. I really got to get into Pastor Gucci. I got to talk about Whitehead. I haven't been able to rip him apart like everybody else, but I want to talk about Pastor Whitehead. And then I'm going to go and bash this whole situation with Courtney Clinton. People saying that he abused her. People saying that she abused him. With that being said, this court case is going to be a mess. It's going to be a hot damn mess. With that being said, thank you guys for listening to my live. I am so